Welcome to the Substitute for War video blog number 4. In this blog, I'm going to be talking about ranking draft prospects by position, and I'm going to try to do position by position, and I'm going to start with the smallest position first, point guard, and then work my way up. This is considered an unremarkable point guard draft. I have about 3 players that would probably be that I would probably take in the first round, and a few other second round solid picks. So that's a fairly shallow number, but I do think there's an opportunity to get some value for some of these players. My number 1 ranked player is Kendall Marshall out of North Carolina. He's a true point guard, averaged nearly 10 assists per game in college, and he's really going to be a guy that takes it upon himself to make his teammates better, get everyone involved, and that's a really nice thing, because I feel like especially in today's NBA with so many score first point guards, the idea of getting a guy who's this much of a pass first player, it can really change almost the way the rest of the team plays. For example, last year in Minnesota, they played so well with Ricky Rubio in the lineup, partly because he's good, but also partly because I really feel like having him on there, it really made passing contagious for those guys, and when he got injured, they all kind of went back to playing more of an individual type of style. So that's one reason I like Marshall for a team, is that I feel like as long as he's a point guard, it's going to help the team culture in a way, because there'll at least be one guy who pushes the idea of everyone passing and playing for each other. In terms of what Marshall actually specializes in, he's great at passing in transition. He's great at getting the ball inside the big man, throwing those bullet passes through traffic, and had a great assist to turnover ratio. His weakness is that he's not going to be much of a scorer at the next level, it doesn't look like. I do think he's quick enough to get in the paint, because with point guards in today's NBA, you don't have to be blazing fast in terms of first step to get in, because with the post hand check rules, it's really hard for point guards to stay in front of men. Point guard, when they're playing defense, to stay in front. But I don't know if he has the explosion or athleticism to finish at the rim at a great level in the NBA. And his outside shot needs a ton of work. And developing that outside shot will help him also on the pick and roll, because defenders will have to play over the top. Defensively, he's seen as a concern, but again, I don't think point guard defense is as important as at other positions, at least man-to-man, because it seems like every point guard gets beat man-to-man, and it really comes down to the team defending point guards and help defense. Yeah, I actually feel like Marshall has a lot of upside and all-star upside, just because I really feel like what makes star players is when they can be like top 5, top 10 at a certain skill, and it's within the realm of reason that this guy ends up being one of the best passers in the league. And if that's true, I'm not sure it's going to matter that he's not an elite scorer. My second ranked point guard is Scott Machado out of Iona. He's actually ranked a lot lower than Marshall on the boards. He's about a bubble first rounder. Marshall looks like he could go in the lottery. But to me, I'm not seeing the gap between them. He's a very, very similar player to Marshall in that he averaged nearly 10 assists per game in college. And to give an idea of how rare that was, since 1995, the highest assists per game averages any player has had in college, Machado this season is 1, Marshall this season is 2. So they both had basically the best passing seasons in 17 years. Like Marshall, he's not an elite scorer. He's not a great finisher at the rim. He is a better shooter than Marshall. He is a slightly better finisher than Marshall, I believe. Hits free throws better than Marshall, but his scoring numbers weren't that high. But he's definitely a pass first guy. The reason I have him ranked below Marshall is that he's a little bit smaller. He's older, he's a senior, and it is somewhat worrisome that he didn't show up production-wise until this year. And he played in a weaker conference. But to be honest, just when I was watching him, I didn't see a lot to separate them as prospects. I would actually go as far to say I felt like Machado's passes were more creative and nifty. He really looked like he could do some special stuff, like bounce passes through traffic, stuff like going behind the back on the fast break, and Just really creative passes that very few point guards in the league make. Guys like Ricky Rubio and Steve Nash, he almost had that kind of flair to him, in my opinion. And like I said, I think he's going to be a better shooter than Marshall. I think he's as quick. So to me, the difference between them comes down to the fact that I simply trust Marshall a little bit more at this point, due to his age and the conference he played in. But I could really see it being a toss-up at the next level. And it wouldn't surprise me if Machado's the better player. But I'm really a big fan of both of them. I would probably put both of them in my top 15 prospects or so. My third-ranked point guard in this class is Damian Lillard, who looks like he could actually be the first taken point guard of the class. He's much more of a score-first player than the other two. He averaged nearly 25 points a game and 4 assists in college. But, again, it came in a weak conference in the Big Sky, and he's an older player, so... I do think that he's quick. He's going to be one of the best shooters in the class. So that's really nice to see, because if a guy can shoot, he can usually stick in the NBA, especially if he's athletic. My only concern is that I do feel he's like a score-first player, and maybe more of a combo guard at the next level. So I just feel like teams have gone down this road a little bit before, where they take a player who clearly is a score-first player, and Lillard's assist to field goal ratio and assist to turnover ratio is very shooting guard-like, and they sell themselves on converting him, but it doesn't quite happen. But even if he's not a true point guard, I think Lillard could be a really good player due to his scoring ability. I think he's going to be able to shoot from mid-range and 3-point. It seems like a good comparison for him is something like a Mo Williams type at the next level. So, yeah, if he can be that kind of like 18 points a game combo guard, that's a pretty good career to me. So I like him. I just don't like. I just feel like the upside of the top two guys is higher, because they could be really special passes, whereas Lillard's scoring, getting like a 6'3" shooting guard who can score, isn't quite as well an asset, and it's something that can be found a little bit easier in trades and free agency. After the top three, I have a pretty big drop off of point guards, almost down to the second round. Probably down to the second round. My fourth ranked guy is Marquis Teague out of Kentucky. And basically, Teague has really nice athleticism and speed, but his skill and his polish really needs some work. And he needs to improve his shooting game, and needs to improve his finishing game. One of the things I look for is that the stat heads, lately I've been finding out that 2-point percentage is a really important stat. And Marquis Teague has one of the worst in the class. And the reason shooting efficiency in college is so important is because logically players should shoot lower in the NBA, a lower percentage in the NBA than in college due to the difficulty. So if you look at a guy like Marquis Teague, he's already shooting a bad percentage in college, and you just have to worry that there's nowhere to go but down for him. And if he's already having trouble finishing and hitting his shots, it's going to be hard to imagine him scoring efficiently at the next level. And I do think he's an underrated passer. I did like the way he improved running that Kentucky team, but I'm not quite seeing the skill, the vision or skill as quite dynamic enough to start in the NBA. He looks to me like a solid off-the-bench guard to me long term. My fifth ranked point guard is Tony Wroten Jr. out of Washington. And he's a player that a lot of people are high on the upside of, because he's got really nice size and athleticism. He's the most physically gifted point guard of this group. But he just has a lot of massive holes in his game. Can't shoot at all, and really has a hard time playing with teammates and seeing the floor effectively. Basically, he has a hefty scoop of Tyreke Evans in him, in that he's about the same size, same type of game where he likes to pound the rock into the paint, but he just can't play effective team ball, it seems like. And with a guy like Evans and a guy like Wroten Jr., I just question whether they can fit on a good team. It seems to me like the two roles for a guy like this is either leading the way on a bad team or coming off the bench on a good one. With that said, it might not be a bad idea to take him, because he's probably going to be an NBA player. He's probably going to get minutes long term. It's just that. And so, at the very least, I guess he's an asset, and he can he's at least, it's better than drafting a bust, I guess. So that's the thing of him. But I'm just not a big fan of these types of players. And I feel like until they get older and they mature, they can be a detriment because just from what I'm hearing about Wroten Jr., he doesn't seem like he quite has the maturity to accept like coming off the bench for 10 minutes a game instead of being a starter. That's just what it seems like to me. Finally, my 6th ranked point guard is Tyshawn Taylor out of Kansas. And basically, again, Taylor is a player who has the size and athleticism. That's really nice compared to some of these players, but he just doesn't have the skill and the mental game to be a point guard, in my opinion, at the next level. He just doesn't quite pass and make decisions well enough. And as a shooter, he started well this season, but there's a lot of red flags that he's not a reliable shooter at the next level, such as the fact that he shot 68% from the free throw line and the fact that he went dead cold in the tournament from the 3-point line. So I wouldn't count on him hitting shots consistently at the next level. And he's a senior, so it's going to be hard for him to correct a lot of these mistakes. But again, like the last few guys, if you're a guard who's really athletic and big, there's a solid chance that he can stick in the NBA, I guess. I think his best role maybe to be like a defensive specialist, maybe at the 2-guard spot, but I'm not really seeing much of a chance for him to be a starter. But if a team is looking for like a rotation guy, maybe he has the talent to do that. So that's my point guards. Once again, my rankings are 1, Kendall Marshall out of North Carolina, 2, Scott Machado out of Iona, 3, Damian Lillard out of Weber State, 4, Marquis Teague out of Kentucky, 5, Tony Wroten Jr. out of Washington, and 6, Tyshawn Taylor out of Kansas. Thank you for watching, and I'll try to get the other positions up in the next couple weeks before the draft.